Happy New Year's. So today we're going to be doing a tier list, and as you already know, Sukuna dropped in the game, I'd say about 3 or so days ago. We're going to be doing a, adjustment to the tier list with, of course, everything that's happened with him coming into the game. Of course, there's going to be a little bit of a shift in characters' use and viability and, their overall value. As you can see, I did remove some notable parts, like, of course, the ghetto tier, and of course I did move them down so that way I can readjust them. So we're mainly going to be readjusting everything so that way we can properly have all the characters viabilities, use, where they kind of land at, with the current release of Sukuna, etc. So let's get right into it. Obviously we have Domain Gojo. He's still going to remain at the top because it's Domain Gojo. He's extremely flexible. He can go on any team. He's the ultimate buffer. Now Sukuna's going to go right below him, and the reason for that is because Gojo is literally, like I mentioned, literally flexible. He just makes everybody who's a DPS a lot better. Now, why Sukuna is SSS compared to, of course, the other DPSs is mainly due to the fact that Sukuna, his ult does a lot of damage, right? It does a lot, multi-hit, everything. But then when you take into consideration that he also can bleed the enemy and do even more damage, it's like, okay, well, GG. Then when you take in consideration as well that his skill 3 is essentially almost as high as a modifier as his ult, and you will get enough curse energy to get that modifier while having all those increases, while also being a character that self-heals, while also being a character that when gets hit he also has a chance to buff himself, is actually insane. So when you compare him to other characters, he has more survivability than most characters unless you're a Gojo, and really the only thing that Gojos have over him is that they're literally completely immune, but they always tend to leave after a certain amount of fights or turns, excuse me. While Sukuna, he doesn't really have to worry about that. He will be there literally permanently the entire time. So yeah, if I could, I would put Sukuna, of course, on the same level as Domain Gojo, but I feel like long-term wise, Gojo's going to be way better than him, since, like, as I said before, he elevates the entire, like, roster overall. Like, just if you're a damage dealer, you want him on your team. He buffs them all, right? Like, he literally buffs them all. So that's definitely why he's going to be an SSS. When I compare him to other DPSs, he just does it all, right? Bleed, does the initial impact. He has other skills that do as much damage as his ult. It's just like he's literally on another level. He has survivability, his buffs. It's like you really can't compare these characters. He's literally the best DPS character, and he doesn't leave after 7 turns. Now for DPSs, as you can see, there is this, but I think I'm going to adjust it. And the reason for this, for me putting Toji above Zone Yuji, is just because of consistency. Not that Zone Yuji definitely does more damage than Toji. It's just there's not enough consistency out of Zone Yuji. You need to Black Flash, and especially in the like pivotal moments where, after you use your zone and you're using your 4 skills, so your skill 2s, it's just like you want to make sure that you're getting those Black Flashes off, or you're going to have a huge drop off in damage. So yeah, I just feel like he's just not going to be as consistent as Toji, where Toji will be very consistent, will crit very often, has survivability, has all of it, doesn't need as much special gauge as Zone Yuji. I just feel like he's a lot better, and they both have access to like-minded sisters to charge ult. So yeah, and obviously since he has high crit, he's not going to have a problem whatsoever building that ult multiple times in a single fight. Next up, we have Yuta and Hollow Purple Gojo. I'm sorry, even with the buffs, I really should have put Yuta behind Hollow Purple Gojo, just because their same purpose is to kind of like destroy the entire stage with just their ult anyways. It's just Hollow Purple Gojo. His amplifier is just way better overall, so he's just going to debuff the enemy while also buffing himself, while Yuta only really kind of debuffs. He does have like a little amp, but it's very small, very minimal. Now we're going to move on to the supports. So we have the supports here. I'm going to say that SSR Yaga is probably still on top. People are going to be like, are you crazy? SSR Yaga can still get you like higher damage. Yes, that's true. But it's not always about damage in the game. Sometimes having survivability is a big factor, and SSR Yaga provides that, which SR Yaga doesn't. But if you're trying to aim for just straight damage and you're not going to die in the fight unless you take too long, then SR Yaga would be higher. I would say they're kind of really close neck and neck, but I would definitely use SSR Yaga like almost 90% of the time. I'm not going to lie to you, just because of that blindness. That blindness is insane. Plus you have the flexibility to use whatever memory you want and not be restricted to memories that are only on command skills like the SR Yaga. Then we're going to put Domain Megami above Kanji because you can definitely hit higher numbers if you set up your Domain Megami. Plus, it gives you survivability. Plus, he has the stuns. He has a lot of things into his kit. It's just, it takes a lot more build up. But overall, in the long run, it's going to be worth it. Next up, we're going to move to S+. Well, before we move to S+, we're going to start with Getos. So the Geto is going to be SS support. So I thought about it, and if I had to kind of rate the Geto in what he does, and since I took off that tier that I had previously, the Geto tier, I'd have to say that he's 100% efficiency in debuffing, but a 75% in damage dealing. Now, he is amazing at damage dealing. It's not that he's bad. It's just his debuffs, you know, elevate that damage that he's doing. And that's because his debuffs are just that good. So I think he's an SS support. Now, if I had to rank Green Geto, I'd probably put him S+. Now, I want to put him in SS for support or DPS, but I can't. For one, he's not on the same level as Hollow Purple Gojo in terms of damage, and for buffing, he's not on the same level as JJK0 for debuffing, because he's not like as universal as the JJK0 Geto. If I had to give it an efficiency on his debuffing capabilities, it would probably be 85%, and his damage capabilities 85%. So it definitely is going to be higher than Blue Geto in terms of damage, but a little bit less in debuffing. But he kind of evens out between the two. So I don't feel like he's that bad. He's really good. It's just he's not reaching the numbers in terms of damage for them, and he's not reaching the, you know, kind of debuffing abilities as the others. Obviously, his base case scenario is in the green team. So if he's in the green team, then I would probably say he's pretty good. He's pretty good in both of these. Like, he's probably 100% efficiency for both. But non-green team, he's just probably going to be S+. Next up, we have Gojo here. Gojo's not going to be reigning as the top blue alternative DPS because obviously we have Geto up here, and we do have Sukuna. Keep in mind, they are limited. But I think Inumaki is going to provide a lot more than your blue Gojo nowadays, where he can also do debuffing and do almost not as much damage as Gojo, but he could get, he's getting there. So I just feel like he's just still has all that utility, so it just gives him a little bit more value, just a little bit more. The rare Inumaki is going up because he's a universal unit, just like Yuki. The only thing is when you're using Inumaki and you want to use his stuns or you want to use his ult charge, you're mainly using him with your Yuki because your Yuki is kind of enabling him to be able to spam those skills. So Yuki still has that cutting edge where he's providing cursed energy for this entire roster, but he's also providing the cursed energy to allow your Inumaki to actually play better. So I definitely think he's still ahead of him, plus he has the buffs. So Inumaki is going to land right here as an amazing buffer. He might even be above Blue Inumaki just because you might use him on a lot more teams than Blue Inumaki. Blue Gojo is going to remain here. I think this is where he's going to be. He's going to be below Inumaki despite having more damage. There's just way better damage dealers than him, and that's really all the Blue Gojo brings to the table is more damage. Sure, you can dodge some damage if you put a taunt memory on him or if you refresh and RNG your way through, but that's about it. That's literally all you get. Plus, he doesn't work with Domain Gojo. But you know who does work with Domain Gojo? Inumaki. So, yeah. You know who works with Domain Gojo? Yeah, Blue Geto. So it's like, yeah. GG for Blue Gojo. Unfortunately, he does lose a little bit of value. Unfortunately for the other Gojos, they are the highest damage dealers of their typing, so they just can't really fall right now for the time being until we get other, you know, characters of that same typing that are on the same level of modifiers and everything. Next up, we have, I believe, Yellow Nanami. He's going to be higher than Green Nanami. Green Nanami is amazing with his buffs, but Yellow Nanami has that type effectiveness. Like, he's just going to always do a lot of good damage. Even, you know, just being the type effectiveness is just great. There's literally nothing for me to say about that. This Nanami is probably going to be an S. He's an amazing buffer character and an alternative if you don't have Momo. But again, I'm not going to put him in S+ because I feel like all these characters are always used no matter what. Maybe I might keep him in S+, I don't know, but I think for the time being, he's going to be an S. He might alternate between the two depending on how content goes going forward, but that's how it's going to be. Green Maki is going to move up to over Mai, actually below Mai. If I had to say between the two when they release, because they release very close to each other, if I had to choose between Mai or Maki, I would choose Mai every day. So I'm going to put Mai here. Next up, we have Nobara. She's going to probably go last to the list. In terms of damage, it's nothing crazy. Like, Yellow Nanami's exceeding her like tremendously and does a lot more. There's all these characters do more damage than Nobara. Like, not this one. This doesn't count. He's just a support character. Same with Green Yuji. He's a good character. He's not bad. It's just I feel like Green Nanami can break, can do AoE damage. Yeah, he's just a lot easier to play with. Let's see, who else should we do? I think Blue Nanami and Miguel are probably going to stay in the same area, I believe. Just because, I mean, they're not really terrible units. It's just their damage doesn't look that bright. But Nanami has more damage than Miguel. But yeah, I don't really feel like there's a lot to say about Blue, Nanami, and Miguel. They're kind of very close in terms of what they do. In like Nanami does a little bit more damage. I think he has some self buffs in his kit too, but so does Miguel. And I feel like Miguel also has the buff removal, but he also doesn't do as much damage as Nanami. So I feel like they're kind of really close in terms of their output and viability. So they're just going to remain there. And then Momo's probably going to drop down. I mean, why would you use this Momo when Nanami exists? I'm not gonna lie to you. Probably only use her for her stun. That's about it. Mekamaru. I'm gonna have to lower Mekamaru a bit, not too much. I'd say he's like right here. Junpei, I'll probably move up because Junpei does have that nice skill 1 that you can take advantage of. Nobara's good, but she's not going to be higher than Yuji just because she needs setup. Yuji, you can just put him there. Unfortunately, though, he is a Yuji character, so he doesn't work with Sukuna, which is a very unfortunate scenario, but he can still work for a lot of other characters. Red Todo is probably going to be higher than Blue Todo because you can use the cheese strat, and then Blue Todo is just kind of like whatever. Kamo, I would like to put Kamo like kind of like behind Nobara. He is a good blue damage DPS dealer. Let's see, Maki. I mean, this Maki could stay here. I don't think this Maki's bad. She's pretty decent as a DPS character. Inumaki, he's probably gonna be right here. I think a little bit ahead of the Maki. He can have some uses, of course, with his new buffs. Red Nobara is probably gonna stay right here. I don't think she's really that good. Who else can we do here? I think we're kind of getting near the end of it. Miwa and of course Saki should stay here. They shouldn't change. These are just like cheese strat shit, nothing crazy. That's why they're in A. A lot of everything in A is usually niche anyways. B, I would probably say Shoko's probably going to be higher, but low A. If we had to put this guy, I'd say Jogo's probably in the bottom too. Jogo is so insanely terrible. It's actually pathetic. Like, I really don't know what they did to this character. It's insane to me. Literally insane. So I just, dropped his ass too. Same with Megami. Megami's just trash. Just got to use his ult multiple times for him to be good. I don't like that. Same with fucking Panda. Like, you have to ult and then you have to wait until you get your ult again, even with his recent buff, just for him to be even good. I don't like that either. It's just, it takes way too long. We need like more rapid characters, more instantaneous characters who can like work their effects immediately. That's kind of like one of the biggest issues Green Nonani had, where he wasn't able to function immediately, and he just had no value because of that. On top of that, his buff was only for like one turn too. It was like, what the hell is that, bro? Only one time? Like, get the fuck out of here, bro. But now that they made it permanent and they buffed all his modifiers, he's chilling. So this is kind of like where I would kind of like rank the tier list in terms of all the characters and their use. Now, of course, keep in mind, even if I move some characters up and down, remember, as I said, these are tier lists, and as more content comes and more characters release, a lot of things change, and a lot of more characters start to get more use, more viability. Like, for example, Red Todo, he would probably be in the dead tier if it wasn't for the fact that we had, the Miwa Todo cheese strat, so he did get boosted up a bit as well with the SR Miwa. So, of course, like I said, as more characters come out, they'll start elevating characters, and other characters will start rising higher because of them, and they'll give them more value. So for now, this is going to be the tier list that we have currently, and later on in the future, it might change, of course, as more characters come. We might move some up, we might move some down. It all depends on how they kind of synergize and how they function with each other. Anyways, that's essentially going to be the, tier list with the new adjustments with Sukuna to the game, and of course how I just kind of felt about some of the characters as I was playing a little bit more and thinking about them more. And this is kind of how where I got to. So let me know if you agree. If you don't agree, let me know what you disagree about, and just tell me in the comments so I can kind of see it, and maybe I'll think about it. I did read some from the previous one, but I didn't agree with a lot of them. But there was some that I did agree with, so who knows, maybe you might change my mind and I might actually buff one of your favorite characters up a little bit. Or maybe I might, lower somebody that you hate, which might be better for you. Who knows, bro? Or maybe I might just put someone up to the top that you just absolutely despise and you just like think I'm wrong. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, it's my tier list, and I think this is exactly where I kind of would rate every character in the game currently as it stands with the current content and meta. Once we get more follow-up, maybe even Green Megami might rise. I hope he does, because he's like probably the most fun character that I have playing this game. Like I like using green magnet, but I just don't really use them too much. Anyways, I appreciate you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.